Have we all become desensitized and almost used to the Israeli occupation? Let me introduce our guests. We have Dr Mohammed Mustafa. He's a Palestinian doctor who was working in and around Khan Yunis in Gaza during the so-called ceasefire. He has recently left and offers first-hand insight into the humanitarian and political vacuum. We have Jenan Matari. She's a social media activist, producer and storyteller who brings a powerful grassroots and diaspora perspective. And Nizar Farsakh is a lecturer of international affairs at George Washington University and a former advisor to the senior Palestinian leadership. To you, Israel has voted to expand its military operation in Gaza. The horrific descriptions Dr. Mohammed was telling us, the images we see online. I've been covering this conflict for 20 years. I've been going in and out of Gaza. I've seen the most horrendous atrocities. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. And I want to ask you, where is a solution for the Palestinians? Are we furthest away that we've ever been? Like, how would you describe it?
I wouldn't say we're the furthest. I guess I've been working on this long enough to know that things actually can change drastically from one day to the other. It is the most tragic, the most cruel it's gotten, but we also have had the success, let's say, of really showing what's happening, and there's a tectonic shift in the world where now Palestine is front and center for people around the globe, not just people who are pro-Palestinian. So the narrative, the Zionist lobby, as strong as it is, actually is losing the narrative because they're having to precisely use those very aggressive, very blunt force tools like getting people fired and silencing people. So the rest of the society is witnessing that. And that doesn't help your argument if you need to shut people up in society. So I think things are moving in the right direction, even if at an extremely, extremely high cost.
Dr. Mohammed, to you after that. He talks about the world's silence. Of course, we all hear the condemnation, the shock, but there isn't any real pressure being put on Israel to stop this. Where would you say political will internationally and also from the Arab leaders is when it comes to really finding a political solution, making it happen, putting real pressure on Israel?
Unfortunately, you're correct. Part of the disillusionment and, in fact, the hurt that we as Palestinians are feeling is that we realize how much Palestinian lives don't matter. The same things that are happening to Ukrainians by Russians, for some reason, when it happens to Palestinians, they don't register in the world. There's an outrage over what's happening in Ukraine that is missing when it comes to Palestinians. Now, of course, we're not naive. We know there are political calculations. Different countries have their interests. However, it is extremely difficult to reconcile with a world that has centered, let's say, the suffering of the Jews in the Holocaust and those pictures of emaciated children in concentration camps in black and white. And then when you see that live in Gaza, there isn't that outrage. And I want to mention something also, that what people fail to understand, especially people who were not familiar with the conflict, is that this is basically a redo of 1948. We are where we are because 76 and so years ago, those Palestinians were kicked out of their homes, and the idea of having a United Nations Relief and Works Agency to take care of those until they get back to their homes. So thinking that after this war ends, we're going to see anything different, if not worse, is really unrealistic. And because you're not solving the problem, you're just putting a Band-Aid on a very big wound. And that's what really concerns me and worries me.
I think you made a very important point there about the value of life. 52,000, over 52,000 Palestinians killed in Gaza since October 2023. Before, I'm just going to play a quick clip. I did a story in the occupied West Bank 3 years ago where the researcher told me that the land has gone, and particularly under Trump, then settlement expansion had gone at a rate that hadn't been seen before. So this is about the two-state solution. Many people online, especially on platforms like TikTok, believe that the two-state solution is dead. Why? Take a listen to this.
The two-state solution is dead, and here's why. Israel has systematically destroyed it with the help of the US by building illegal Israeli settlements, which are segregated Jewish-only communities built on Palestinian land in the occupied West Bank, which is against international law. They're forcibly displacing thousands of Palestinians in Area C, which is under full Israeli military control, and shoving them into Bantustans, mainly in Area A, so that these settlements can continue expanding. There are over 500,000 Israeli settlers living on the land that would be the Palestinian state in this two-state solution. Israel has effectively turned the West Bank into an extension of their settler colony.
Well, it's not just the occupied West Bank, it's also an occupied East Jerusalem. Nazar, we're running out of time. It's been such a fascinating discussion, but I quickly want to get from you, Trump administration, I know it's difficult to ask you this. What is Donald Trump thinking? What's going to happen with Gaza, the Palestinian issue? Because, of course, they have a lot of leverage, as Jenan was very well pointing out there.
So Trump in general doesn't have a long view. So he would like to help Israel annex the West Bank. For all intents and purposes, it is annexed. It's just a question of label. But if they don't get that, they're going to rearrange or configure what the occupation looks like. It will definitely not be sustainable. One thing I would want to say is that, I mean, I've been working on this for 40 years. Like, I kid you not, every year there is a superlative of this is the unprecedented number of settlements, unprecedented number of land confiscation. I think it's not helpful to follow those superlatives. We just need to realize that we are in a different situation, a different landscape, and we need to use the correct tools for that landscape. And currently, it is the fact that there is a whole globe that's been comparing what they see in the mainstream media with what they see in social media, and are asking themselves or realizing that this is not self-defense. That is something, people making the connection that the support for Israel comes from big business, from the industrial military complex, and so on, is putting the fault lines in the correct places. So there is a lot of work that we can do there, and we should be doing.
You mentioned there about descriptions. I remember covering Gaza many, many times in the UN. We used to report this, that the UN says that Gaza will become unlivable by 2020. And we reported this years ahead of 2020. I was there in 2020, and now we're 2025, and Gaza has pretty much been obliterated. Dr. Mohammed, a very powerful message to end this episode of The Stream. Dr. Mohammed Mustafa, Jenan Matari, and Nizar Farsakh, thank you very much for joining us today.